I'm not sure if Brandon Smith is a wrestling fan, but he has really completed the ultimate heel turn. I feel like everybody loved his larrikin persona. He was the guy that you could see yourself going to the pub and talking to. He was good with the fans. Like, everything about Brandon Smith was really good. All these little snippets of little interviews after the game. No doubt about it, he was a cult figure. And I'm sure he still will be a cult figure, but it's just not going to be the same. Actually, just before we talk about the hectic cheese, I just need to give a special shout out to the sponsor of this video, Manscaped. Ho ho ho, gentlemen. The holidays have come early this year as Manscaped have a gift that keeps on trimming. Santa's beard isn't so appealing when it's coming out of your trousers, and that's why Manscaped, the leaders in below the waist grooming, have you covered this holiday season. It's time to kill two birds with one stone. Get a gift for yourself and your significant other. You get what I mean, right? Like, surely, like, down there, that's a gift for us, cleans it all up, and then, the gift for them because they don't have to deal with that. Gift for both of us, you know what I mean? But seriously, go get yourself the Performance Package 4.0, which includes the famous Lawnmower 4.0, which has a skin-safe technology to protect your nuts and is also waterproof so you can use it in the shower. So long story short, your balls are as safe as Nathan Cleary's contract at the Panthers. The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Crop Preserver and the Crop Reviver in it as well. And you're probably thinking, what the hell is that? Well, basically, it's an anti-chafing deodorant, moisturizer, and toner. So earlier when I was talking about it being a gift for your partner, it's kind of what I meant. The hygiene bundle also comes with some anti-chafe boxes as well. So you've got the whole deal down there. No chase will be happening. Also included in this package is the Weed Whacker, which is an ear and nose trimmer because nobody really wants nose hairs. I've never seen anyone who said, I don't really mind it. Everybody hates them. So all of that in itself is quite impressive. But if you want to impress everyone a little bit more, you can go ahead and pick up the signature scent of Manscaped and also me while I'm at it. It's a signature scent of me and Manscaped. And by signature scent, I mean their cologne. Now, everything that I've been talking about, all of this, it's all available in Australia, New Zealand, England, you name it, it's there. It's basically everywhere, and that's why there's 4 million men who trust Manscaped to keep their trees trimmed and their ornaments polished. See, it's Christmas time. We've got to mention some Christmas things. To go have a look at what I've been talking about and pick up some of these deals, go to manscaped.com and use code Mr. Luke. It gets you 20% off and free shipping worldwide. Trust me, your balls will thank you, and so will Santa. He'll definitely be proud of you. Now, I'm basing this purely off the podcast he done on YKTR Sports with Isaac John, the Ice Project. If you haven't seen it, which I feel like every man and their dog's seen it at this point, they've been quoting it. They're even trying to come up with a swear counter on how many times he dropped the F-bomb, which I think is just completely ridiculous. But speaking of F-bombs, I think he might have just F'd his whole persona. I feel like everything about him being the larrikin just doesn't fit with him going to the Roosters and with how he's actually handled himself. So, I don't know, there's a whole narrative at the moment with footy players of we need to control the narrative. And he's come out and even said it and said, yeah, I did the podcast to stop all the media speculation on that sort of stuff. But honestly, what does that podcast actually achieve that he's just done? He shit on a whole bunch of sides. He shit on his current side. Yes, he talked glowingly about the Roosters who he must have signed with, but he hasn't announced that he signed with them. So if you're going to do that podcast with how it went, surely you've got to announce that you signed with the Roosters. Surely you had to come out and announce it. Just in that exact same podcast, should have come out and said, hey guys, I've signed with the Roosters, and this is why. Instead, he was like, yeah, I'm leaving it open. I've got to go back to Melbourne and talk about it. And speaking of Melbourne, they've released a statement. In fact, Brandon Smith has released a statement. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll chuck it up on the screen right now. It's a little 3-piece little Instagram story. And basically, he kind of just sort of said, hey guys, sorry if you took it wrong, but I'm kind of not really sorry. That's just how I am. That's basically the gist of it. He said, he didn't like how the media portrayed things. And to that, I sort of say, the media hasn't really portrayed anything. You said what you said about Melbourne having a drinking culture. He definitely said it. And I know you can say, oh, well, it's out of context, but the context itself doesn't really change too much anyways. He was talking about how he's, constantly getting on the piss at the Storm, and that's their culture. And this is just after he had literally just got in trouble with Cameron Munster. Cameron Munster's on an alcohol ban, just went to rehab. Brandon Smith is literally in trouble as well. There's another player as well, I forget who it was, but they literally got in the shit for doing the party boy stuff, and that he's come onto a podcast literally a couple months later. Actually, probably not even a couple months later, but he's come onto a podcast and talked about there being a drinking culture after there was so much talk about the culture not actually being that good in Melbourne. So I feel like that's super disrespectful there, and he's really chose his words poorly. And I know he can sit there and say, yeah, the media's changing the narrative and check out the context of it and stuff, but it's also about reading the room. He has definitely not read the room, man. Like, that's really a really big mistake from Brandon Smith, to be honest with you. Talking about that just after you've got in trouble. Like, when you actually look at things, is he just having a dummy spit at the Storm because they fined him and got him in trouble or whatever? I mean, got him in trouble. He's the one who got himself in trouble, but I feel like Melbourne handled it fairly well from a player's perspective. I know it definitely wasn't up there with Reece Walsh, and things could have been handled a lot better, but in terms of them like suspending them and stuff, I feel like it was a pretty lenient sort of suspension. So in Brandon Smith's eyes, I'm not sure why you'd be so upset. He did the wrong thing, and now he's coming out and he's talking about the culture of Melbourne being about drinking, and that is actually what he said. This isn't some speculation, this isn't some rumor. He actually said it, and you can argue taken out of context, whatever. This is what he said. So Melbourne have come out after Brandon Smith's statement, and they've issued their own one, and essentially, I'll chuck it on the screen as well, but essentially for them, they've come out and said that the Melbourne Storm doesn't agree with Brandon Smith's views, and also some of the comments he made in terms of the culture and all that sort of stuff. All the current players, past players, members, coaches, everybody is super upset at him and have pretty much said, we wish you well in 2023. So they've confirmed that he's not going to be at the Storm, which effectively confirms that he is signing with the Sydney Roosters. He come out and said in the podcast that he liked the Dolphins, but it was pretty much down to the Dolphins, Storm, and the Roosters. The rest of them, not a chance. Like Titans, he pretty much ruled them out. He did mention talking to the Tigers, Parramatta, Penrith. So on one hand, he's also confirmed that Reed Money is pretty much definitely gone from the Eels. So Bulldogs haven't announced it, but looks like Reed Money is 100% signed, even though they haven't announced it. But Brandon Smith pretty much did. Basically, this whole podcast has changed the whole narrative of Brandon Smith. Like I said earlier, I keep going back to it, but he's got this larrikin persona. They're selling shirts, champ cheese, hectic cheese, just lovable Brandon Smith, and that's not the case anymore. We're seeing a different side to it, and I think a lot of it does come down to the fact that he's signing with the Roosters. How many players have you heard have signed with the Roosters and become likable? Not many, really, not a lot. Maybe Tedesco. Plus, Tedesco signed before they went and did back-to-back. So, look, the Roosters, they're definitely building a bit of a dynasty. This is a hell of a signing for the Roosters. I'll say it that much. But just in terms of Brandon Smith, I feel like, yes, he's making a good footballing move, and even in terms of life after football, I think that's what he kept mentioning, was that the Roosters care about your life outside of football, and I feel like a lot of the clubs probably do. But the Roosters, they are the ones who are actually capable of looking after you after football. And that's probably why a lot of players, they probably are on unders at the Roosters compared to what they could get at other clubs. But also, I just want to point out, there's a lot of people who are sitting here and talking about the Roosters and going, yeah, well, Jake Friend retired, Boy Cordner retired, we lost the Morris boys, Orbison's there, Isaac Liu. We've lost a lot of players. This is how we can afford to get Brandon Smith. And to that, I say, yes, you got those sort of guys, but you also got guys like Sawali who've played a handful of games on huge money. You've got Tedesco, you got Keary, you got Radley, you got Angus Crichton. Joey Manu is one of the most sought-after players in the NRL, and you went and re-signed him. You got a lot of... Daniel Tupou, he played for New South Wales recently. You got a lot of good players in that side. Sam Walker wouldn't be on nothing either. Hargraves is there. Takiyaho's been around for a while. You can't tell me all of these guys are just on absolutely nothing. And it's always funny that when they're at the Roosters, they go, oh, well, they're signing for unders. But when they leave and when they retire, all of a sudden there's huge money available. Either they were on a lot to start off with, or they're not. It's either they don't have much to work with because all these players were taking unders, or they were on a lot of money, and that's how you got money to sign a guy like Brandon Smith. So you can't have it both ways. But like I said, the Roosters, they're going to have an absolutely sick side. I'd already have them borderline favourites for 2022, let alone 2023. Adding Brandon Smith there, and as much as he sort of made himself unlikable, I'll be honest, I think a lot of this stems down to the fact that he signed him with the YKTR crew. I don't know how good of a deal this is going to work out in the long run. They talk a lot about doing crypto and NFTs and a lot of this stuff and marketing him. Well, I'll tell you what, the marketing as of late has not been good for Brandon Smith. His image has completely changed. Try and sell a shirt with Brandon Smith right now. Who's going to buy a Brandon Smith Rooster shirt? Roosters fans? Probably that's about it. Only them. Now for me, Brandon Smith at the Storm, I probably would have bought a shirt because the Storm, yes, they are a really good side, but they weren't really anybody's rival or enemy because they were in Melbourne. You can stay out of trouble. Whereas Roosters, they're everybody's enemy. It's kind of like Manly. If Brandon Smith had signed for Manly, we'd probably be sitting here saying the same thing. But just how he's gone about things, it's just absolutely disgusting. And I say that as someone who really liked Brandon Smith, and I didn't want this to go this way. I thought he might have signed with the Roosters, but to come out in the podcast and talk about how Mitchell Orbison was talking about the Roosters and it brought tears to your eyes. You were tearing up and you're looking at the jersey and you're saying, I want to win a premiership in that jersey. Meanwhile, still got a year to run. It's one thing to think that and tell your friends and tell your family and all that sort of stuff, but he literally went on a podcast that now has 24,000 views. Maybe didn't realize it was going to blow up that much, but it's got a lot of views on there. It's hitting the like Fox Sports and Channel 9. It's hitting mainstream news at the moment. And yes, this works for YKTR, but I don't think this works for Brandon Smith. Now, there's going to be the diehard YKTR crew who are always going to, buy all the Hectic Cheese merch and all that sort of stuff. But general public, I don't know if Brandon Smith can ever sort of regain the reputation he had, because he's always going to be the guy who sold out to go to the Roosters. Even if he is signing for less, it's always going to be looked at as, yeah, he sold out to go to the Roosters. He went to the top side, even though he came from the Storm. Like, a lot of it doesn't make sense, but I feel like that's how he's going to be looked at in the general public, and yeah, it's not going to be favourable. But guys, I'm just rambling here at this point. I'm going to wrap up the video. The general point was to just talk about Brandon Smith and how he's sort of ruined his reputation. And yes, he's made a great decision on field, but off field, in terms of him marketing himself and trying to get a life after footy, if his whole sort of direction wants to get into the media, in terms of like online media and all that sort of stuff, definitely has ruined it. I will say he seems to be a guy who's about stocks and about crypto and all that sort of stuff. So maybe he genuinely doesn't give a shit about what people actually think. But at the same time, he seems like the guy who probably does. And they've been selling shirts with Hectic Cheese and Champ Cheese and all that sort of stuff on it. So he's definitely in amongst it somewhere in terms of all that. So I feel like he's really ruined that sort of avenue. But look, in terms of actual business stuff, he's probably signed with the best club that you could possibly go with. So yeah, on one hand, it is a good move, but on the other hand, he's totally disrespected the Melbourne Storm. And if I'm a Roosters fan or management or even a player, I'd have to be questioning the signing a little bit. Not in the sense that you're getting a bad player, but just the professionalism. It's just not there. He has not been professional at all in terms of this whole contract signing. Like, it's ironic that he sat there on the podcast and talked about how professional the Roosters are, and then totally went and did something completely unprofessional, so disrespectful to the Melbourne Storm, a club that has done so much for him, a club that picked him up when he was getting the arse from the Cowboys for getting in trouble. So he is a guy who does like to find trouble, and he's confirmed that in the past. Growing up, he was getting in a bit of trouble, and I think that's why his parents wanted him to move from New Zealand, or something along the lines of that. So he is someone who is known for a bit of trouble, and also the Roosters are sort of known for a bit of trouble every now and again. But for the Roosters, you can't sit there and talk about professionalism and how well it's run, and then have a player going on and just completely disrespecting other clubs. It kind of goes completely against it. But once again, I'm rambling here. Anyways, let me know in the comment section below, what are your thoughts on Brandon Smith? Does him signing with the Roosters, does it change your thoughts on him? Has he, just his whole actions in general, has that changed your thoughts on him? Or do you still like him? Do you still love Brandon Smith? I feel like a lot of people are still going to like him. A lot of people would have turned on him. I feel like it's whether you support the Roosters or not. So if you're a Roosters fan, you'll be absolutely cheering. If you support anyone else, probably not too happy. But yeah, like I said, let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on Brandon Smith joining the Roosters. Anyways, that's where I'm going to wrap up this video. Hopefully you did enjoy it. If you did, make sure you go ahead and smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Also, make sure to use the notification bell. Don't rely on sub boxes. Don't rely on the suggested videos. Use the notification bell and never miss any of my videos. Also, while you're at it, go ahead and give me a follow on social media. It's on the screen right now. It's Mr. Luke on YT for the most part. My Facebook is Mr. Luke, but everything else, including TikTok, including Snapchat, is Mr. Luke on YT. So go ahead, give me a follow, give me an ad. Also, go ahead and cop some of the merch. There's a design on the screen right now. If that's up your alley and you like that design, go and check out the rest of them. Link is in the description below for the spread shop. Go ahead and pick it up. I think you'll really enjoy it. Also, once again, I just need to mention the sponsor of the video. It's Manscaped. Now, just because the Black Friday and Cyber Monday sales are done, doesn't mean you can't get a good deal at Manscaped. Go ahead and use my code. It's Mr. Luke. Gives you 20% off and free shipping worldwide. Christmas is coming up, so go ahead and order now. Manscaped have plenty of products that could be gifts, and that's gifts for him and her. So definitely go ahead and pick up a Manscaped product. Your balls will thank you, and Santa will definitely be proud of you. And I'll be proud of you. Anyways, that's where I'm going to wrap things up. Thank you for watching, guys. Stay tuned for more content on the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. See yous.